Hi, I'm Dana, and with Love on the Spectrum US having come out, I've been seeing a lot more discussion about autistic people in romantic situations and autistic people dating, and I wanted to talk about it because I feel like I've spoken quite a lot about like communication and friendships and meeting people and socializing, but I haven't gone in depth on like romantic relationships, and I feel like now's a good time. Now, first of all, the thing that I want to bring up is that I do think it's honestly easier for most women than it is for men. And, you know, everyone's different. It will massively vary. There's going to be some autistic dudes that are like absolute chick magnets and womanizers. And there's going to be some women that like cannot get a man or a woman if that's what you're interested in. We don't need the heteronormative bullshit here. But, you know, there's going to be some people that are great at dating and some people that aren't. We're still people even though we're autistic, and that means we're all different. But for the most part, I think that a lot of autistic traits that are common and that are quite obvious, when women do them, they're seen as quite cute, you know? They're seen as like, oh, she's so quirky and unique and not like other girls. And when men do it, it's, oh, he's creepy or he's this or he's that, you know? It's a more negative reaction when a man does certain things. You know, like info dumping, even stimming, I think, are things that are seen as like, if a man info dumps, 9 times out of 10, people are probably going to assume that he's mansplaining. Whereas when I info dump, it's, oh, she's like passionate and cute and it's adorable. It's so cute. She's so quirky. You know, it's a very different reaction that women get for a lot of autistic traits versus men. But outside of that, I want to start at the beginning, which is forming a relationship with someone, you know, starting to maybe date, starting to chat. And that means you've got to meet someone. And, you know, that's something that, from my experience, most autistic people struggle with a good bit. For me personally, I met my ex at a bar and it blows my mind that happened. I was there with a friend that knew him and they were like playing a gig, so I was introduced, so it wasn't like I had some weird surge of confidence and went up to someone at the bar and was like, hey, I'm gonna flirt now, you know, not at all. But to me, I was very like, oh my god, I've actually managed to form a relationship in like a neurotypical setting. And obviously at the time I didn't know I was autistic, but I did not ever think that I would just be able to meet someone in a bar and be like, boom, I'm in a relationship now. It blew my mind. However, my more recent experiences of dating have been online. I was on Tinder for like 3 weeks and they were like 3 of the worst weeks of my fucking life. Oh god, I do not fucking understand Tinder at all. It frustrated me to no end because I thought it'd be kind of easy because I put a good amount of info in my bio. I had all my pictures. So if someone's matched with me, they should be like at least somewhat interested in me already, because I've read their bio, I've read that, like seen all their pictures and decided like, yeah, I like this person, they sound nice, they sound interesting, they sound like someone I could have a good conversation with, I think they're attractive, I'll match with them. And then you get the match, you're like, oh my god, hi, how are you doing? How's your day been? What's up? And they're like, oh, it's fine. And it's like, you've matched with me. Why? Like, you don't seem at all interested in speaking to me, so why have you matched with me? I do not understand it. But the more frustrating part was when, like, obviously, I'd put in my bio and everything, like, I want a relationship. I'm not really, you know, I'm not going to judge anyone, but I'm not interested in anything else personally. I like it to be love. Maybe I'm just, like, sappy, I don't know, but, you know, I wanted a relationship, not just a hookup or whatever. And the amount of people where it's, like, a week in where we're talking, and then they're like, so do you want to come over to mine? No, I don't. I've never met you. I'm not gonna just come to your house. Like, we both know that that's just for the, like, hoo-hoo. And I don't want to. And now I feel like I've completely wasted my time for a week because I've been talking to you and it's not gonna go anywhere. And I've been quite clear about what I want. You know, I think that for autistic people, dating is hard because there's all these little, like, games and things you're meant to do and things you're meant to say and you're meant to flirt and you're supposed to do that. And I haven't got a fucking clue what any of it is. Like, I struggle to look back on my early messages with my girlfriend because I was trying real hard to be flirty. And it just makes me cringe now. Like, we're only like fucking 8 months on and it makes me cringe, like, out of my skin. It's, oh. It worked, clearly. Clearly my flirting worked. I am 8 months in with my girlfriend, but, like, I don't know how. It's terrible. It's horrible meeting someone and being like, I've got to be attractive while also showing that I am funny, while also trying to be intelligent, while also trying to judge what I think of them and see if I think they're these things too. And then I've got to try and judge if we're actually compatible. But then I've also got to be thinking, like, you always, like, present your best self on a dating site or on the first few dates. So what if this person's actually just like completely making up who they are, and I'm not picking up on it at all, so I'm already like falling in love and having a nice time, and I'm gonna end up with an asshole. You know, there's just so many concerns and worries, and it's terrifying. You know, and moving on from that, say you've like formed a relationship, you are talking with someone, the definitions of relationships have always massively confused me. And like even now, like sometimes my girlfriend mentions things to me and I'm like, huh? Like, situationships and friends with benefits both baffle me. Like, I'm not going to judge them, good for you. I don't understand what a situationship really is, I won't lie. But I think especially for an autistic person, I really like the clarity of knowing like what the relationship is. And it can be really awkward to ask that. And especially when it's like, I'm on Tinder, so what if the fucking relationship, like I'm like, what's our relationship? And they're like, what relationship, bitch? This was a hookup, you know? It's scary and it's awkward. And that was... And this might not be a universal autistic thing, but I feel like the majority of movies and stuff that I've watched that are romantic are fairly old. So I was still very like, I have to ask my girlfriend to be my girlfriend before she's my girlfriend. Like up to that point, we're just dating. And then eventually I was like, do you want to be my girlfriend then because I love you? And she said yes. And I was like, that's when she's my girlfriend. But she doesn't see it like that. She thinks we were already like girlfriend and girlfriend because we were dating. So that's just how the relationship evolved. And I'm like, no, but I need to know. You know, I thought it was like we're courting, and then when you start like dating and you become girlfriend and girlfriend, you have to ask. So I think that, you know, to some people that can probably, especially again when if a man did that, I could probably come across quite awkward. But like it's seen as cute and quirky for me. And like one thing that I experienced a lot in high school is where you sort of hyperfixate on someone, like they pretty much become your special interest, you know, and it's a very unhealthy obsession, you know. Like when I had crushes on people in high school, I would have done anything for them. Like there was a girl in high school that I bought a bottle of Dr. Pepper for every morning before school for like possibly a year, to be honest. And like it's not like I just had money. I was begging my parents for money to buy her this every single morning because I knew she liked to have a bottle of Dr. Pepper for school. It's this like extreme obsession, and it can be dangerous, you know. Like fair dues, I was like 15 buying a girl a bottle of Dr. Pepper, that's whatever. But if you're adults and they want to manipulate you in some way or use you in some way, it's suddenly become real fucking easy with me. I'll just do whatever you want me to because I'm in love and you're so amazing and you're perfect, so why would you ever do that to me? And you know, like I could have ended up in some real horrible situations if it weren't that the people I've met have been good people, and I can't tell. You know, there's been a lot of people that I've known where I've been like, oh, this is a really good person, I'm really glad to have met them, and then I've been screwed over. So that's a constant concern. But moving on again, the next part is where you're in the relationship and now you've got to maintain it, and it's really hard. I think maintaining a relationship's difficult, or like can be difficult for anyone, you know. I don't think this is an autistic struggle, but I've quite often experienced the vibe of like, I think this relationship's going really well, I'm really happy in this relationship, I really love this person, and then all of a sudden they're like, do you even like me? And I'm like, of course I like you, I love you, I'm completely in love with you. But obviously communication and socialising and stuff is difficult for autistic people. So there's ways in which I think that I'm showing love and showing affection and showing how much someone means to me, and I'm, you know, realistically not. They're not picking up on it, they're not vibing with it. And obviously that can also go the other way. I've also had times where I'm like, I really don't feel loved or treasured in this relationship and things don't feel very nice. And then when I've like taken myself out of it a bit and looked at it and like paid attention, I'm like, oh, they're doing all these things to show that they love me. It's just that it's not what I'm doing for them to show that I love them. So I haven't like really fully picked up on that's what it is, you know? There's a lot of having to try and pick up on messages that just my brain doesn't even really see as messages. Finding ways to communicate efficiently, like in a way that actually has the other person understanding. And also having the other person communicate with you in a way that you can understand so that you can improve and like actually work through conflict and the like. It's all really difficult. You know, it's my opinion is that like you have to be with someone that's really fucking worth it, because the effort that goes into communicating and solving conflict and making sure everything's running smoothly and everyone's happy. It is effort, and it's kind of hard, and it can be really upsetting at times, you know. It does really need to be worth it. And I don't exclusively mean worth it in the way of like the person's grace. I mean that should be the minimal time, you know? Like, it shouldn't always be hard. You know, you're putting the effort into the hard times and putting the effort into communicating and listening properly to understand, and not just to hear the points to argue against or whatever, you know, really listening to your partner and communicating and bringing up conflicts in a way that isn't argumentative, all of that. You know, you do all of that stuff so that it only happens like this much of the time, and then all this other time is nice times because you've put the work in over here. But it's really hard to put the work in, and you know, it's socialising, it's communicating. You're having to talk to your partner, whether you're texting them or ringing them or doing it face to face or whatever else. You're having to use words to communicate, and that can be misunderstood, and it's terrifying, and it makes me so anxious. But I've also learned that, like, you know, when it's the right partner, it's worth doing, and it makes the relationship so much better and stronger and nicer and everything else. Outside of that, though, I think there's other things that sort of come along when you're in a relationship that, like, I wasn't expecting when I got into a new relationship. You know, things like my routine having to change because there's another person in my life now, and I'm going out and seeing them or having them over and doing things with them. So my routine's different, and that was a struggle. That's still sometimes a struggle. That can leave me feeling quite overwhelmed and like just very restless and like, oh god, something's wrong and I don't know what to do, is my general feeling. And I didn't expect that to be a thing. I didn't think about that. And you know, I think it depends on like the kind of relationship you enter into and the person that you're with, and etc, etc. You know, everything's my experience and very dependable depending on who you are and the type of person that you are and so on and so forth. But for me, I don't leave my house very much, and I like to fill my day with lots of things to make me feel productive. So on a day when I'm seeing my girlfriend, I don't get even half of that stuff done. And, you know, part of me is very like, it's the worst thing ever. I hate the change in my routine, and I wish that it didn't happen, and it makes me really uncomfortable. But it's also totally worth it to get to see my girlfriend. You know, I'd way rather do that than the dishes. But it's difficult. And finally, I want to talk about what I'm calling self-imposed difficulties, but there's definitely some sort of better word for it that I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments. But it's basically, I think that a lot of autistic people, you know, a lot of us are a little insecure, a little anxious. We maybe don't like ourselves an awful lot. We have issues a lot of the time caused by society. I don't think it's our fault. I don't think we should like shit on ourselves for it. But obviously the issues that we have as people like breed over into relationships. Like personally, I'm quite an insecure person and I'm working on it. But it means that I've had times where I've just fully convinced myself that my girlfriend doesn't like me or care about me in the slightest. And, you know, I'm convinced of it. Like, I'm completely, like, in shutdown, just like, I can't believe that I've been, like, pouring my heart out and doing all this stuff. And, like, I don't think she likes me. I'm not even likeable. You know, and 20 minutes later, I've gotten a message from her that she loves me. And I'm like, oh, did I make that all up again? Did I just do that again? Great. But, you know, that's, like, I'm actively, like, accepting these issues and trying to work on them. A few years ago, I think I'd have just been phoning her and be like, why don't you like me? I just want you to love me, you know? And that would be a big issue in a relationship. But like, there's so much that we carry as people that we then carry over into relationships. And, you know, it's important to work on it for ourselves anyway. I was already trying to like better myself as a person and not be so scared and anxious and sad all the time. But we have this whole like, oh, you should love yourself before you try and love someone else. Like, be in a relationship with yourself before you enter a relationship. I don't think it's terrible advice per se, but I also think that I've learned a lot more about what my issues actually are by being in a relationship. I know that I was obviously in a relationship prior to this for a very long time, but I'm a lesbian. I was in a relationship with a man and feelings were very different, okay? So it's in my current relationship that I've learned a lot fucking more about myself and my issues and the ways in which that they like affect me and affect my relationship and affect the way that I see my girlfriend and perceive the whole relationship in general. Because, you know, I have times where I perceive it in a way that just is not reality and it really fucks me up and brings me down. And that's a big thing to work on for myself. But if I hadn't already done the work that I have done on myself with that issue, I would be dragging that into the relationship for sure. And my disclaimer here at the end that I probably should have put at the start is that obviously, as much as I talk about difficulties and struggles and things that are hard, there's very few things in life better than being in love, is there? Like, it's fucking great. And, you know, lots and lots and lots of autistic people have very successful and happy relationships. Lots of autistic people are married and have children and whatever else. And, you know, just like the rest of the human population, lots of us aren't in relationships who have gotten divorced and struggle with relationships too. Because that's just the way the cookie crumbles when two people are together, or more. I'm not going to judge. So yeah, I'm not saying like autistic people can't do relationships or autistic people are great at relationships. I'm just saying that I think when in a relationship or trying to get into a relationship, we might have a few more or different struggles than a lot of neurotypicals. And it's good to talk about them. You know, and also autistic people can learn, we can change when we want to. Obviously, don't go into a relationship trying to change someone or change yourself to fit what they want. But, you know, I'm not a good communicator. I can change that. I can be a better communicator. Change the good things. Change for, it's not change when you're learning. You know, you're gaining knowledge, not changing. So I really want to shut up now. This is one of the longest videos I've ever filmed. I'd love to hear your relationship woes, happiness, like fucking whatever you have to say, whatever experiences you want to share, whatever struggles you want to share. Like, you can whinge and moan and have a big vent down below if you want. I'm not gonna stop you. I fully support that. It can be really hard and frustrating. So you can have a rant if you need. You can tell me lovely, nice things that have happened to you. You can tell me how you're married. You can tell me how you're divorced. You know, whatever it is, I'd love to hear it. My links are all down below. If you wanted to like and subscribe, that's always quite nice. I do like seeing the number go up, I won't lie. But for now, whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year. And I'll see you again in a few days.